Hi, my name is Melissa, and I'm the genetics educator here at the Connecticut Science Center. We have an amazing new program for you that's going to teach you everything you need to know to become a true virus hunter. But we also know that not everybody can come out to the Science Center right now to visit us. So we wanted to bring this program to you so that you know wherever you are, you can have science on your side. So today, we are going to be virologists. What kind of scientists do you think a virologist is? What do you think they study? That's right, viruses. So viruses come in all different shapes and sizes. They can be long and skinny. They can have these little coatings around them. They can even look like alien robots from another world. And they can be found almost anywhere on Earth, including inside of you right now. So this is a bacteriophage. This is a type of virus that infects bacteria. It's inside of your gut right now. It's part of your microbiome, or the community of microorganisms that live on or inside of you. And it's essentially part of your immune system. Not all viruses are bad for us. We've even used this type of virus to actually help to treat people who are really sick and antibiotics weren't helping. But like we've seen with SARS-CoV-2, which is the virus that causes COVID-19, some can make you really sick. So it's important to learn all that we can about them. So all a virus really is a set of instructions surrounded by what it needs to keep those instructions safe and get them where they need to go. So just like this virus has instructions, you have instructions inside of you. Your DNA instruction book is what makes you a person and not a fish or a piece of lettuce. And it's what tells your body how to build you. So I want you to think of it like a Lego instruction book. So we've built Legos before, right? We've had those instructions for how to place those bricks together. So the virus's instruction book is essentially how to build another virus. But did you just take these instructions and fold them up and play with these? No. What do you need? You need Legos. This is where a virus has a bit of a problem. So a virus has instructions to make more of itself, but it doesn't have any of those Lego bricks. It doesn't have any of the building blocks. That's why we technically don't even consider viruses to be living, because they can't make more of themselves on their own. They need a host, like bacteria or plants or animals like us. And that's when the outside of the virus comes into play. That's what that's for. So take a look at this virus that we have here. Don't worry, this one's not going to get me sick. What do you notice? It's not really smooth, is it? So this virus is covered in spikes. That's why we actually call this a coronavirus. It's surrounded by a crown or corona of spikes. And it uses this to get its instructions where they need to go. So I have here one of our cells. They are much, much smaller inside of us. And the virus uses these spikes to bind or attach to these cells. And then once inside, this becomes a little virus-making factory. The virus can use its instructions and our Lego bricks to build more copies of itself. And that's when we can get an infection and get sick. But are viruses actually this large? Make it a lot easier to see them and help us clean, but not quite so big. So we're going to take a look and see how small a virus actually is. So I want you to take a look at a single strand of hair. You can pull your hair in front of yourself. Take a look at a single strand of your hair. Look how small and thin that is. Well, to get a better view of this, we're going to blow it up. So now we have blown your hair up by 4,000 times its size. So that now each of those strands of hair you see behind me is now 1 foot wide. So even in a world where your hair is a foot wide, look at how small those viruses would still be. Less than 1 millimeter wide. Just the size of these poppy seeds in there. And normally, as we're seeing from that picture behind me, this is not normally the size of our hair. So viruses are so small that we can't even see them. And that's how it's so easy for them to get around, like this. So what's this person doing behind me? Sneezing, huh? Is this a nice clean sneeze? No, this is pretty messy. we're seeing all of these droplets of liquid coming out of all different sizes. And things like coronavirus or the flu or the common cold, those viruses live in our respiratory system. So they would come out in these droplets of liquid that are coming out when you're sneezing or coughing, talking, or even breathing. So let's see how that sneeze is actually going to move. So we're going to see the sneeze coming in just above me. Take a look as that's coming out. What do you notice? Is it staying still? Is it just falling out of the air? Now look at that gas cloud pushing everything forward. So I think we need to know what kind of distance we're actually talking about. So we're going to take a trip out to our galleries so we can see if we can map this out in terms of distance. See you there. Hello again. Now that you've seen what a sneeze looks like, let's see how far that sneeze would actually travel. So right now, you are 6 feet from me. That's the average distance it takes for these droplets to fall out of the air. So most of those really big globs you saw in that picture would have fallen out by now. That's why we say stay 6 feet apart whenever you possibly can. But that wasn't the only size droplet, was it? You are now 13 feet from me. That's how far those smaller droplets or aerosols that come out even when we talk or breathe can travel. But we also saw something else in that video, didn't we? Now you are 27 feet from me. That's how far that gas cloud can actually move. So if I were standing here without my mask on and let out that great big sneeze like the one that you saw, it can reach all the way to where you are now, which is all the way across our lobby. That's why wearing a mask is so important. Or if you're not wearing one, to cough or sneeze into your elbow or into a tissue that you can throw away. So now that we've seen how virus particles can move around in the air, let's take a look at how they move on surfaces. Hello again. So all this talk about sneezing has made me have to, oh, I'm so sorry. Oh no, like we said, there's viruses in those respiratory droplets. I've just gotten some on my hand now. And now, what if I were to just hang out here, lean against the table for a little bit? What do you notice? What if I just left this behind? So don't worry, I'm not actually sick, but we saw how easily I could have passed that virus along. Did you see what happened when Mr. Nick, one of our other educators, came by? He picked up that virus off the surface. So right now, his hands are protecting him. But if he were to touch his eyes or his nose or his mouth or his mask, this could get inside and cause an infection. But is it as simple as we saw? Does it just stick to a surface and then your hands are nice and clean again? Let's take a look. So I have some gloves on so that we can actually see how this virus is moving. And you guys can actually try this at home too with ink or paint. So I have some inky viruses here. And I'm going to put my hand in those inky viruses just like I would have touched a surface or a doorknob. And now let's see what happens. So already I'm noticing some changes on my hands. Already we have that inky virus everywhere. So now let's see what happens when I touch something. We are spreading that everywhere. And it is not just the first thing that I touch. So the first thing I touch is getting that really, really dark color that would have the most of those viral particles. But look, it's going everywhere. And are my hands cleaned? No, my hands are still covered in inky virus. So this is a good way to trick your brain. Because raise your hand if you've been finding it really, really hard not to touch your face. I'm going to raise both of mine for that because it is so hard. We touch our faces anywhere from 16 to 23 times an hour. And that's when you're not thinking about it. So a good way to train your brain is just to always think of your hands as being covered in ink or paint. Makes you more aware of what you're touching and less likely to want to touch your face or your mask. And I'll show you a nice safe way to take these off too, so that you know you're keeping all that inky virus inside. So for my first glove, I'm just going to pull from the palm and pull that up, turned it inside out, and none of that ink got on my hand. Now, I'm just going to ball that up in my other hand and reach underneath to this clean side of the glove and just pull up. Now I have that inside out in a little bag with all my inky virus trapped inside there. So we've talked about what makes a virus a virus. We've seen how it can spread both in the air and on surfaces. Now we have to talk about how we can protect ourselves so we can become true virus hunters. So what could I have done in the very beginning to help with that sneeze that I had? How could I have gotten rid of this? That's right, I could have washed my hands. So we can use hand sanitizer, we can cough or sneeze into our elbows, but soap is always our best practice. That has an extra trick up its sleeve when it comes to this virus. Because have you guys ever seen a really fatty, oily, greasy pot or pan after you've been done cooking? What'd you use to clean it? Soap. That's because soap breaks down fats and oils. Well, remember the outside of the virus that we talked about before? Guess what that envelope or the outside layer is made of? Fatty, oily molecules. So just like that soap breaks down that grease on your pot and pan, it's going to break down that envelope or the outside of that virus so that the water can just wash it away. Another way we can protect ourselves is to wear our masks like we've been doing. And one more thing we want to show you. So we have some dominoes here for you. What do you think is going to happen if I touch this first domino? Any predictions? Let's give it a try and see. You're right. They all fell down. What about now? What do you think will happen if I touch this first domino now? What's different about this? Let's see what happens this time. Did you guess that it would stop? What happened? So if before we think of that first person in the chain as somebody with a virus, before everybody got that virus. But this time, just having that little bit of space or that physical distance stopped it and kept it from spreading. And that's why we're giving some distance between each other right now, so that we can help keep that from spreading. So you did an awesome job today, guys. You have everything you need to become true virus hunters. And I want you to remember that right now, while we're hearing new information each and every day about COVID-19 and the virus that causes it, it's okay to feel frightened. It's okay to be confused and not be able to sort the fact from the fiction. But I want you to remember that we are here at the Science Center for you. We have science on our side, and now you know all you need to know to protect yourself. Have a great day.